All right, let's jump right in today. We're looking at the SORA Network.
Okay.
It's a platform that's really making a name for itself in the world of building these decentralized applications.
Right. dApps.
Yeah, those apps we keep hearing so much about.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. SORA isn't just going for any dApp. They're really going for the trifecta. High scalability, interoperability, and rock-solid security.
It's an ambitious goal.
It is.
To achieve all three of those things simultaneously has been a real challenge.
Oh, for sure.
for dApp developers. So the fact that SORA is designed with this trifecta in mind is a major draw for anyone who wants to build in this space.
Okay, so let's break it down a little. What exactly is SORA?
Where at its core, SORA is a decentralized autonomous economy, or a DAE.
Okay.
Think of it as a self-governing digital ecosystem built on the Substrate framework.
Substrate framework. Now, that sounds familiar. That's the same tech that powers Polkadot.
Exactly. And this connection to Polkadot is a real game changer.
Okay.
So SORA can function as a standalone blockchain, but its integration with Polkadot opens up some incredible possibilities.
So like what? Give me the highlights.
Well, for starters, significantly lower transaction fees.
Oh, that's huge.
Which is a huge win for dApps that need to operate efficiently and at scale.
Right. Makes sense.
And then there's also the interoperability factor.
Oh.
So being part of the Polkadot ecosystem allows SORA to seamlessly interact with other blockchains.
So data and assets can flow freely between those different chains.
Exactly. It's pretty slick.
It is.
And SORA projects can even run on Polkadot as parachains,
Okay.
which means they can tap into the security and scalability of the entire Polkadot network.
So it's like a force multiplier in a way.
It is.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together, but who's keeping this whole system running?
Well, that's where the Validator nodes come in.
Okay.
They're the backbone of the SORA network, responsible for verifying transactions and adding new blocks to the blockchain.
Right, the essential stuff.
Yeah, and here's the cool part. Anyone can become a validator.
Wait, seriously? Anyone can just jump in and start validating transactions?
Well, there's some technical requirements, of course. You need to set up a node and meet certain performance standards, but the barrier to entry is intentionally low.
So what's the incentive? Why would someone want to become a validator?
Well, validators earn rewards in the form of VAL tokens,
Okay.
which is SORA's native token.
Gotcha. So the VL tokens, that's where that comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about people who don't have the technical know-how or the resources to run a validator node? Can they still participate?
Absolutely. That's where the concept of nominators comes in.
Okay.
Anyone holding XOR tokens can become a nominator.
XOR. Is that a different token?
It is. XOR is the utility token of the SORA network.
Got it. So it's like the fuel that powers the whole ecosystem.
Exactly.
Okay, so how does being a nominator work?
Well, as a nominator, you can support validators by delegating your XOR tokens to them.
Okay.
So you're essentially vouching for their reliability and contributing to the overall security of the network.
So it's a trust-based system.
Yeah. And both the validator and the nominator earn rewards based on the amount of XOR staked.
Oh, so it's a win-win.
Exactly.
But I imagine there are some risks involved too, right? Like what if a validator starts behaving badly or goes offline?
Yeah, that's a good question. And SORA has mechanisms in place to address those concerns.
Okay, good.
Validators can be penalized for misconduct or poor performance.
Makes sense.
Those penalties can include a reduction in their stake, which can impact the rewards earned by their nominator.
So there's a real incentive for validators to play by the rules and keep a good reputation.
Exactly. And for nominators, it highlights the importance of carefully choosing which validators to support.
Due diligence is key.
Yeah, do your research, look at their track record, and make sure they align with your values.
This is all fascinating stuff, but I have to ask, why should anyone care? What's the real-world relevance of all of this?
That's where dApps come in.
Okay.
Remember those three pillars we talked about? Scalability, interoperability, and security. Those are all essential characteristics for dApps to thrive.
Okay, but how does that translate into real-world applications? Give me some examples.
Sure. One prominent example is Polkaswap, a decentralized exchange built on SORA.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
It's essentially a platform where you can trade cryptocurrencies without relying on a centralized authority.
No more middlemen controlling the market.
Precisely. And because it's built on SORA, Polkaswap benefits from all those advantages we've been talking about: lower fees, fast transaction speeds, and the ability to interact with other blockchains.
Okay, I can see how that would be a game changer for anyone interested in decentralized finance.
Yeah.
What other dApps are making waves on SORA?
Another interesting example is Ceres.
Ceres, okay.
It's a DeFi service provider built on a SORA,
Okay.
and it's making a name for itself in the .sama ecosystem, which includes both Polkadot and Kusama.
DeFi, now that's another one of those buzzwords I keep hearing. Can you break that down for me?
Sure, DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance. And it's all about creating financial services that are open and accessible to everyone without relying on traditional institutions like banks.
Yep.
Think lending, borrowing, trading, all powered by blockchain technology.
So Ceres is bringing DeFi to the SORA network.
Exactly. They offer a range of services, including their own Ceres token airdrops for token holders, and even community governance, where users have a say in how the platform is run.
Wow, that's really putting the power back in the hands of the people.
Yeah.
What else does Ceres offer?
They have a farming platform called Demeter, which allows users to earn rewards by providing liquidity to the platform.
Okay.
And then there's DEO Arena, which is a platform for creating and participating in decentralized organizations.
It sounds like they're covering a lot of ground within that DeFi space.
Yeah.
Are there any other dApps built on SORA worth mentioning?
There are several others, but one that's particularly intriguing is Matrix.
Matrix, okay.
They're working on bridging the gap between decentralized and centralized crypto markets.
It's ambitious.
Yeah, essentially they want to connect Polkaswap to their platform, which could open up a whole new world of possibilities for trading and exchanging tokens.
That's a pretty ambitious goal. It sounds like they're trying to create a bridge between the old world of finance and this new world of blockchain.
Exactly. And it highlights one of the key strengths of SORA.
Okay.
It's their commitment to supporting developers who want to build on the network.
I like that.
They have a program called the SORA Builders Program,
Okay.
which is specifically designed to nurture and support these innovative dApp projects.
Okay, this sounds interesting. Tell me more about the SORA Builders program. What kind of support do they offer?
It's pretty comprehensive. They offer incubation, which is like a nurturing environment for startups, as well as porting assistance for developers who want to bring their existing projects over to SORA.
Oh, wow.
And in some cases, they even provide financial backing.
Wow. They're really going all in on fostering innovation.
Yeah.
So if you're a developer with a brilliant idea for a dApp, SORA is the place to be.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the money. The SORA Builders program also provides community support and mentorship, which can be invaluable for developers who are just starting out.
So it's like a whole ecosystem designed to help dApps succeed.
It is.
That's pretty impressive. But let's shift gears for a minute and talk about the technical side of things. We've touched on XOR's utility and the role of validators. But how does SORA actually achieve all of this security and scalability?
That's a great question, and it all boils down to their unique proof-of-stake consensus mechanism, known as NPoS.
NPoS.
Yeah, it's similar to the proof-of-stake mechanism that other blockchains use,
Right.
but with some key differences that make it even more energy efficient, secure, and community-driven.
Okay, color me intrigued. Tell me more about this NPoS and how it works.
Well, instead of relying on miners to solve complex mathematical problems, which is what proof-of-work systems like Bitcoin do,
Right.
NPoS utilizes that system of validators and nominators that we talked about earlier. Remember how anyone can become a validator or a nominator by staking XOR tokens?
Right. So the more XR you stake, the more influence you have in the network. But what makes NPoS different from regular proof of stake?
There are a few key distinctions.
Okay.
First, there's a clear separation of roles between validators and nominators.
Gotcha.
So validators are responsible for actually producing the blocks, while nominators support them by delegating their XOR.
So it's a team effort.
Exactly.
Everyone has their specific role to play.
Yeah. And this division of labor helps to distribute risk and ensure that the network is more resilient to attacks.
Okay, that makes sense.
Another key difference is how validators are selected in NPoS. It's not just about the amount of XOR staked.
Okay.
It's also about reputation and community trust.
So validators need to be both technically competent and well-respected by the community.
Precisely. And this helps to create a system where the most trustworthy and reliable validators are the ones who have the most influence.
That's a really clever approach to building a secure and decentralized network. I'm starting to see how SORA has thought this through.
They definitely have.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about SORA's unique features, its integration with Polkadot, its commitment to supporting developers, and its proof-of-stake consensus mechanism. It's clear that SORA is aiming to be a serious contender in the blockchain space. But what else should we know about SORA?
Well, it's still early days, and SORA is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
They have an ambitious roadmap for the future, and they're always looking for ways to improve the network and expand its capabilities. But one thing that really sets SORA apart is its focus on community involvement.
Oh, okay. This is right up my alley.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how SORA involves its community.
Oh, they have this really cool program
Okay.
called Social Insurance for Systematically Important Infrastructure, or SII for short.
Yeah.
It's basically a safety net
No.
for users of dApps that are deemed essential to the SORA ecosystem.
Wait, so if something goes wrong with one of these essential dApps, users could be compensated.
Yeah.
That's a pretty revolutionary idea.
It is, and it's a way to build trust in the SORA network and encourage people to use these dApps without fear of losing their funds.
It's like having an insurance policy for the decentralized world.
Exactly.
I love that it shows that SORA is really thinking about the long-term sustainability of the network and the well-being of its users. But how does a dApp qualify for this SII coverage?
It has to be deemed systematically important by the SORA Parliament,
Okay.
which is the network's governing body.
Gotcha.
There's a rigorous selection process to ensure that only dApps that meet certain criteria are eligible for SII protection.
Makes sense. So it's not just any dApp that can get covered. What are some of the criteria they look at?
They consider things like the dApp security track record,
Yeah.
its level of community support, and its overall importance to the SORA ecosystem.
So they're really doing their due diligence to ensure that the SII program is sustainable and effective.
Yes.
That's impressive.
It's another example of how SORA is innovating not just in terms of technology, but also in terms of governance and community building.
It sounds like SORA is really setting the bar high for what a blockchain project can be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all happening with a strong emphasis on community involvement, which I love.
Absolutely. SORA's governance model is designed to ensure that the community has a voice in how the network evolves. So it's not just about code, it's about people.
I'm really starting to get a feel for the SORA network and its vision.
Yeah.
But we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. Where do we go from here?
Well, next we'll take an even closer look at the technical inner workings of SORA.
Okay.
We'll delve deeper into those palettes you mentioned earlier,
Yes.
as well as explore the fascinating world of SORA's technical stack.
All right. Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
I'm ready.
Welcome back to our deep dive into SORA.
I'm excited to go even deeper. Last time we laid the foundation. We talked about SORA's vision, those key components like Polkadot integration,
Yeah.
XOR, the validator nodes.
Right, we sort of set the stage.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom in on some of the technical details that make SORA unique.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. What's first on the list?
Well, let's talk about SORA's use of palettes.
Palettes. Okay, that rings a bell, but
Yeah.
refresh my memory. What are those exactly?
Well, you can think of palettes as the building blocks of the SORA network.
Okay.
Each palette is a modular piece of code that provides a specific functionality.
Right.
Remember we talked about SORA being built on that Substrate framework?
Right. So Substrate is like the foundation.
Exactly. And pallets are kind of like the walls, the roof, the plumbing, all the essential components that make a house livable.
Gotcha.
They give developers the tools to customize SORA and build dApps with very specific features and capabilities.
So if I'm a developer, I can pick and choose the palettes I need to create my dApp.
That's the idea. It's like having this giant toolbox at your disposal.
Okay.
You can use pre-built palettes for common functions or even create your own custom palettes to do something truly unique.
Wow, that's powerful. Makes building on SORA sound almost easy.
Well, maybe not easy, but certainly more streamlined than starting from scratch.
Right.
And that's one of the things that makes SORA so attractive to developers.
For sure.
They don't have to reinvent the wheel every time they build a new dApp.
Makes sense. So palettes are a key part of what makes SORA so flexible.
Absolutely. And this flexibility is also reflected in SORA's overall technical stack.
Okay. Technical stack sounds important. Break that down for me.
Sure. The technical stack is essentially the blueprint that defines the network's architecture and its capabilities. Think of it as the underlying infrastructure that makes everything work.
Gotcha. So what's special about SORA's technical stack?
Well, one of the most important things, and as we touched on earlier, is that it's built on parity substrate,
Okay.
the same framework that powers Polkadot.
Right. And we talked about how that integration allows SORA projects to benefit from Polkadot's scalability and interoperability.
Exactly. And this connection goes beyond just those benefits. It also means that SORA can leverage a lot of the existing tools and infrastructure that's been developed for the Polkadot ecosystem.
Ah, so it's like tapping into a whole network of resources and support.
It is. And the best part is that SORA's technical stack is always evolving.
Right.
With new features and capabilities being added all the time, they're always looking for ways to improve performance, security, and that user experience.
Yeah, that's what I love about the blockchain world. It's never static.
I agree.
There's always something new and exciting happening.
And SORA is definitely at the forefront of this innovation. They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with blockchain technology, especially when it comes to the types of dApps that can be built.
Okay, now you've got me really curious. What kind of innovation are we talking about here? Give me a sneak peek into SORA's future plans.
Well, they've hinted at some pretty ambitious plans. One of their goals is to integrate smart contracts into the SORA ecosystem.
Wait, smart contracts on SORA? That's huge. What would that mean for developers?
It would unlock a whole new world of possibilities.
Okay.
Smart contracts would allow developers to create even more sophisticated dApps with these automated functionalities, and potentially even tap into other blockchain ecosystems that rely heavily on smart contracts.
I can see why that would be a huge draw.
Yeah.
It sounds like it would make SORA even more versatile.
Exactly. And that's just one example of the exciting things that are on the horizon for SORA.
Okay.
You know, they're also looking at ways to enhance privacy and security, improve user experience, and expand the network's reach to a global audience.
Wow, it sounds like they're really aiming high.
They are, and they're doing it all with that strong emphasis on community involvement.
Right.
You know, they're constantly soliciting feedback from users and developers, and they're truly committed to building a network that serves the needs of its community.
Speaking of community, let's circle back to SORA's unique approach to social insurance. We talked about the SII program earlier, but I'd love to unpack that a bit more.
Sure. So the SORA Network's Social Insurance for Systematically Important Infrastructure, or SII, is a really innovative concept.
Yeah.
It's designed to address one of the biggest concerns in the decentralized finance world, the lack of a safety net.
Yeah. You know, in traditional finance, if your bank goes bust, there's usually some form of insurance to protect your deposits.
Right.
But in the world of DeFi, that hasn't really existed until now.
Exactly. And that's where SII comes in. It's essentially a community-funded insurance pool that protects users of dApps that are considered vital to the SORA ecosystem.
So if one of these essential dApps gets hacked or experiences the dApp, bug users could be compensated for their losses.
That's the idea. It's a way to mitigate the risks associated with DeFi and encourage more people to participate in the SORA network without fear of losing their funds.
That sounds like a brilliant solution. But how does a dApp get approved for this SII coverage? Is there a selection process?
There is. It has to be deemed systematically important by the SORA Parliament.
Right, the governing body.
Exactly. They have a rigorous evaluation process to ensure that only dApps that meet certain security, community support, and importance criteria are eligible for that SII protection.
So they're not just handing out insurance to every dApp that comes along.
No, they're not.
They're really doing their due diligence to make sure the program's credible.
Exactly. It's a very thoughtful approach, and it shows SORA's commitment to building a secure and trustworthy DeFi ecosystem.
This SII program is really fascinating. It feels like SORA is truly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the blockchain space, not just with its technology, but with its governance and these community-focused initiatives.
I agree. SORA definitely a trailblazer in many ways.
All right, so we've talked pallets, the technical stack, smart contracts, and even social insurance. What else is there to explore in the world of SORA?
Well, now that we've laid the groundwork, it's time to see how all of this translates into real-world applications.
Yes.
Let's dive into some of the dApps that are already flourishing on the SORA network.
Let's get to the concrete examples.
And see how they're leveraging all of these amazing features.
I'm ready to see this technology in action. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're the final stretch of our SORA Network deep dive.
We've covered a lot, haven't we? From the technical nuts and bolts to those community initiatives.
Yeah, for sure. But now I'm ready to see this all in action. Let's talk about some of the dApps that are actually up and running on SORA.
Great idea. We briefly touched on Polkaswap and Ceres before. Those are great examples of how developers are leveraging SORA.
Okay, so let's start with Polkaswap. Remind me what makes it stand out.
Well, Polkaswap is a decentralized exchange, or DEX, built on SORA.
Right.
Think of it as a marketplace for trading cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
But without the need for a centralized intermediary like you'd find in a traditional stock exchange.
So no more middlemen calling the shots. Trades happen directly between users.
Precisely, and because it's built on SORA, Polkaswap gets all those advantages we've been talking about. Lower fees, those fast transaction speeds, and that crucial interoperability with other blockchains.
Right, that interoperability is a game changer because it opens up a whole world of assets you can trade.
It does, and Polkaswap is also crucial for providing liquidity for the SORA ecosystem, making sure there's always a healthy flow of assets for trading.
Now, we've talked about liquidity before, but can you remind us why that's so important?
Sure, imagine you're trying to sell something, like a rare comic book. If there are only a handful of buyers out there, it might take you forever to find someone willing to pay a fair price.
Right.
But if there are tons of eager buyers, you'll have no problem selling it quickly and at a good price.
So liquidity is like having a busy marketplace.
Exactly.
Lots of buyers and sellers all ready to trade.
Exactly. The more liquidity, the smoother and more efficient the market.
Makes sense. So Polkaswap helps create that for Ceres?
It does. It makes it easy for users to trade tokens without those wild price swings.
Okay, Polkaswap sounds pretty awesome.
Right.
What about Ceres? How does that fit in?
Well, Ceres is all about decentralized finance, DeFi.
Okay.
It's one of the first DeFi service providers in the Summa ecosystem,
Okay.
which includes both Polkadot and Kusama, and it's built on SORA.
We talked about DeFi before, but can you give me a quick recap of what kind of services Ceres actually provides?
Yeah, they offer a bunch of services that you'd normally find in traditional finance things like lending, borrowing, even yield farming, but it's all powered by blockchain technology.
Yield farming now, that one always catches my attention. Remind me how that works.
Sure, it's basically a way to earn passive income with your crypto.
Okay.
You're essentially lending your crypto assets to a platform like Ceres.
Yeah.
And they use those assets to facilitate more lending and borrowing within their ecosystem, and you get rewarded.
So you can put your crypto to work and earn some extra reward.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I remember you mentioned Ceres also has that strong focus on community governance.
They do. They really believe in giving users a voice in how the platform develops, so token holders can actually participate in those governance decisions,
Okay.
shaping the future of Ceres.
I love seeing that community focus again. Okay, so we've got Polkaswap and Ceres, but are there any other dApps built on SORA that you're particularly excited about?
There are a lot, but one that I find really interesting is Palmatrix.
Palmatrix.
Remember how we talked about SORA wanting to bridge that gap between decentralized and centralized finance?
Yes, that sounds like a huge challenge.
It is, and Palmatrix is trying to tackle it head on.
Okay, how so?
They're working to connect Polkaswap to their platform,
Okay.
which would allow users to trade tokens across a much wider range of exchanges, even centralized ones.
So they're building a bridge between the old world of finance and the new world of DeFi that's super ambitious.
It is, and if they pull it off, it could really change how accessible and widely adopted crypto becomes.
It really feels like SORA is leading the way in this whole new era of finance and technology. It's exciting, but where do things go from here? What's next for SORA?
Well, they've got a really full roadmap they're working on, improving scalability, security, and user experience nonstop.
Right. Always iterating.
And they're always looking for new ways to get the community involved.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they come up with next. This whole deep dive has been eye-opening.
It's definitely a compelling vision.
It is building a more open and transparent financial system that's a goal worth striving for.
Absolutely. And SORA is taking real steps to make it happen. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, the role individuals can play in all this. It's a good point. It's easy to get lost in how complex blockchain is, but everyone has a part to play in this.
So how can our listeners get involved with SORA?
There are so many ways. Maybe you're a developer with a great idea for a dApp.
Right.
Well, SORA has the tools and resources to help you build it.
Or maybe you're just passionate about decentralization and want to help secure the network. You could become a validator or a nominator.
Exactly. And even if you're not super technical, you can still help by spreading the word about SORA.
Right.
Educating others about the potential of blockchain. That's a huge contribution.
I love that there's a role for everyone in the SORA ecosystem. This has been such a great deep dive. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
The future of SORA and of blockchain in general is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to decide what that future will be. So get involved, explore, and be a part of it.
I love it. That's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much for walking us through the SORA network. I feel like I've learned so much.
It was my pleasure. I always enjoy talking about these topics.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the world of blockchain and dApps with us.
Keep learning and stay curious.
This is the Deep Dive signing off.